practical solutions that can invigorate teaching and learning. So I thought a lot about this talk, and I thought a lot about what I was going to say. And I think the number one thing that we forget as teachers is the fact that we are the number one factor affecting student achievement in our classrooms. Yes, Marzano, the king of meta-analysis, has synthesized hundreds of studies to tell us one thing that I'm pretty sure we already knew. Teachers matter. We matter a lot. The methods we select matter. The materials we choose matter. Even the vocabulary that we employ when we're talking with students matters. It all matters. So my question to you is this: what are we going to do about it? Well, we need to make teacher learning the number one priority for us as professionals. Student learning is number one for our students. Teacher learning has got to be number one for us. So let me start with a story. A few months ago, a parent in the district where I work, she gave me a shout out on the phone. And I say shout out, and I don't use that term lightly because this woman doesn't call anyone. She shout outs them. And so when I answered the phone and said, "Hi, how you doing?" She responded with so much excitement and so much passion about keeping our kids safe and sober the night after the prom that I simply had to get involved. So I have a tendency to sort of get involved in a lot of things that might seem a little strange, and that's because I tend to be allergic to the word no. But I thought this was a really cool thing. So a few months into the planning, we had met, we were sitting around the round table, and we were talking about, all right, how do we get kids to stay safe and sober after the prom? And we started where most people start. Oh, well, we'll tell them not to. Oh, well, we'll make a rule. Oh, well, we'll think of some punitive thing that we can do to them. And we were sitting there and we're like, it's not going to work. So then we thought about the one thing that would work. And that was, quite simply, to throw a bigger party than they could. And so we did. We threw a bigger party than I had ever seen. We are talking massive inflatables. We are talking henna tattoos and old-time photos and some sumo wrestler costumes and some really amazing activities for these kids to enjoy. And basically what happened was they decided that there was absolutely no way their buddy's basement was going to be better than this, and they came. Kids flocked to this party after prom. We kept 130 students safe and sober that night, and they had a great time. So what does this have to do with professional learning for teachers? Well, when it comes to professional development, friends, it is time to throw a bigger party than they can, okay? We have to throw a bigger party than this guy, and this guy, and we don't have quite as much money as he does, but trust me, teachers can do it, I know. And this party can look a lot of different ways, but for me, for the past couple of years, it's been EdCamp. So let me start back at the beginning. A few months ago, well, I should say a few years ago now, Kevin Jarrett sent out a tweet asking some people to go to a bar camp in Philadelphia. Now, let me say that bar camps have nothing to do with bars. I get that question a lot. They have to do with computer programming. And with that being said, it sounded kind of like a lot of fun. Now, Kevin and I had never met. We'd exchanged some tweets and some blog posts, basically enough that I believed that he was actually a dad and an educator in New Jersey and not some sort of psycho stalker guy. And so I considered myself to be pretty adventurous, and I went. And when I arrived that day, I met Mary Beth Hertz and Dan Callahan and Rob Rowe and Nikolai Baroda and Mike Ritzius and Ann Linus and Hadley Ferguson and Kim Civic. And we realized that we were the only 6 or 7 educators there at a computer science unconference. So we quickly became friends and started checking out the event. And one thing I will tell you is when we walked in, there were no sessions posted. There was no script. There were no moderated events. It was just a room. And when we walked into that room, I thought to myself, this is so different than the sit and get that I had been used to as a teacher. Now, I know you've all been there. You've been sitting in seats, maybe even something like this, and there have been slides up there from the Department of Education that have so many words on them. You think that if you squint hard enough, it's like one of those magic photos and like a horse head's gonna pop out, you know? So this was absolutely nothing like that. There was this frenzy around the session board, and people were laughing and joking and deciding what they were going to talk about. And I'm looking at Mary Beth, and she's looking at me, and I go, are we going to do this or what? And she's like, yeah. So we walk up, and we're like, all right, well, what can we do a session on that might engage some of these computer programmers? And we came up with social media in schools. And about an hour later, we had dumped everything in our collective brains into a Google Doc, posted it up, and had a rousing conversation about what schools should be doing and what schools shouldn't be doing, bolstered by the shared expertise of these computer programmers. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was about what you did know and could learn, not the idolization of experts. It was something that I consider to be life-changing. I was immediately hooked. So following that bar camp experience, we kept talking, we kept tweeting, we kept blogging with each other after having met that day. And we knew in a few short weeks that we had to develop something to bring this experience specifically to educators. And it became EdCamp. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been unconferences in education that have come before us, and there have been unconferences in education that have come after us. We stand on the shoulders of giants like TeachMeet and PodCamp and EduBloggerCon. We took that model and we made it our own. We made it something that was important to us and something that we thought would be meaningful for teachers in our local area. That was all we did. So we got started on this journey, and I'll be honest with you, we didn't really know what we were doing. And when I say that, we had no clue. We were in Illuminate sessions going, well, I don't know how to get insurance. Do you know how to get insurance? What does that even mean? Do we need to become a foundation? The questions that were flying around were legitimate, but completely unanswered. We Googled a lot of stuff, we talked to a lot of people, and we made a lot of connections. And since then, we've actually been able to share a lot of that expertise that we've gained with a lot of other folks who are interested in events like this. So after a lot of hard work and a lot of planning, and a lot of really, really long Illuminate sessions where you know that one annoying person with the microphone feedback is just about to put you over the edge, we had finally arrived at the day. And so we set everything up, and I sidewalk chalked every inch of the campus, and we prepared in a small room where people would be entering. And we sat, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited. But amazingly, people came. They actually came, and they brought their ideas and their research and boxes of Legos for robotics and baggies of biscotti just in case we got hungry. It was unbelievable. And over the next 6 hours, we spent time together learning and sharing and building knowledge off of one another. Some people had brought thoughtful research. Other people brought thoughtful questions. When it fused together, we came up with something pretty special. Now, I could talk all day about what an EdCamp looks like, but sometimes a video's worth 1,000 words. So take a look at what our day looks like.
EdCamp is comfortable. It's motivating.
That is really cool.
What does it mean in today's landscape to do good research?
EdCamp is organic, participant-driven professional development. There are no keynotes, there's no set schedule, and the participants set the agenda.
How many of you are teacher educators?
The purpose of the workshops today are to put a bunch of really smart people together in a room and share ideas and talk. Really what we're trying to do at events like this are amplify each other's ideas and really leverage those to help improve what we do, and that's teach kids.
These are Drupal blogs, so it links to 8th grade work from 2009, 2010.
We're seeing a wide range of educators coming from all of these different schools within the city, counties surrounding Philadelphia, and it's leading to some really rich conversations around what's going on and where are we going in education.
How can you play with this stuff in a way that kids are going to get something out of it.
I love how much technology is integrated into it. We're on Twitter and you can just go and you can see what's going on not only in your own workshop, but what's going on in all the other workshops at the same time.
You can see it in their faces. Everybody wants to raise their hand and talk because they have so many ideas to contribute.
I think the thing to keep in mind first is this is a conversation. We don't mean this to be a lecture.
I see a commitment from the educators here at this conference to engage and make this a really positive experience.
I'm really here to learn from everybody. That's why I came today.
EdCamp is an effective professional development. I can take what I've learned today back to my school and use similar ideas in our own professional development.
Our hope is that school districts across the nation will adopt the EdCamp model for professional development.
EdCamp has provided opportunity for people to think and talk about their educational philosophy, attend something for nothing, and come away with great ideas. I think that's really important.
This has been a True Life Media production.
The thing that's been so insane to me is that since last May, EdCamp has become something of a phenomenon. So since May 2010, there have been 21 EdCamps held in cities like Vancouver and New York and Chicago. So this will just give you an idea of how many places we've touched and how many places we've hit. And that is just a small part of it. And to be quite honest with you, we as EdCamp Philly organizers did nothing but say, hey, here's a wiki that shows what we did, want to try it? And people jumped to the opportunity, jumped to the task, and took control of their own learning. It was absolutely incredible. So I just want to give a round of applause for all those people that stepped up. So with that being said, there are a lot of you out there that might be wondering, hey, I am busy, okay? I can't do this. But the thing that you need to know about this very simple model is that it's scalable, it's replicable, it's geography agnostic, it's technology agnostic, it's culture agnostic. Anyone can do it. And I really, truly, and honestly believe that I am sitting in a room with 300 potential EdCamp organizers. And the feedback that we've been receiving as the organizing team has been overwhelmingly positive. Teachers are ready to step up to the plate and take control of their own learning. They're not waiting for university degrees or conference organizers or anyone else to tell them that it's okay to go out there and learn. Let's face it, requirements, rules, regulations, just like they wouldn't work for our students to keep them safe and sober on the night of the prom, they don't work to motivate us. Now, I know that there are always going to be requirements that need to be in place so that everyone has that standard base, and there's going to be a Department of Ed that's going to track it, and that's fine. But we need to encourage teachers to embrace professional development as something so much more than that, something that's encompassing, something that it just becomes a part of who you are and the way you do business. And trust me when I say, when you adopt that paradigm shift, your kids notice. They take note of the fact that, hey, we're learners all the time, and so are you. And it makes a tremendous difference, not only in your own teaching, but in how your students learn, because your students see that in you. So with that being said, I just want all of you to take away this call to action. Learning is not about what someone else permits you to do. Learning is about what you choose to embrace in your everyday life. Your experiences matter. Your learning matters. And you have so much to share. So the more you share, the more we all grow, and the more our students learn. So with that in mind, keep note, this movement of EdCamp has nothing to do with technology. It's essentially people learning from people. But what I will say is that online spaces have fundamentally changed the way we connect and the way we organize, and it's given us opportunities that we can expand upon in ways that we've never been able to do before. And I think very strongly this has nothing to do with professional development specifically, but worldwide learning in general, and we need to recognize that. Teacher learning does not have to be boring, monotonous, or expensive. It can be fun, invigorating, and even possibly, as in our case, free. EdCamp Boston sold out of free tickets in less than a month. Now that is pretty amazing. And with that being said, I think that it holds so many opportunities. Now, I know one thing about teachers, and that's that they're all really good at finding and begging for free stuff. So, with just a little bit of effort, you can get some vendors that will help you put on something like this without much of a hassle. And we chose, and we believe very strongly as the EdCamp Philly organizing team, to keep things very non-commercial. We didn't have any vendor tables or anything like that because we really didn't need that many vendors, because it's just people learning from people in a space. So you're just facilitating all the great learning and sharing that everybody already brings to the table. So really, my call to action for all of you today is just to realize that you hold the power to the learning that happens for your students and for yourselves, and you deserve the best, so you have the responsibility and the authority, my friends, to go out there and make it happen. I'll be seeing you at EdCamp.